Motherhood is the biggest sisterhood of them all. Before we became mothers, we were individuals with hopes, dreams, and aspirations. But sometimes, as mothers, we lose sight of ourselves through the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Hi, I'm your host, Dawn Imani. Just a friendly mother that wants to chat about raising kids, chasing dreams, and highlighting the many inspirational stories of the mothers that do it. Just like that. So pull up, grab yourself a motherly beverage, and get ready to ride this roller coaster we call life. Condensed into a show. Welcome to MYLF Podcast, and it's time to meet today's mother you'd like to friend.
Hi, my name is Trina Mello Adams, and I was raised up in the church. You have that mama that wouldn't let you sleep in on Sundays. Took us to church all the time. But it wasn't until later in life that I learned the value of having a relationship with God.
So you've made it back to MYLF Podcast. Thank you again for all of your support and for watching and subscribing. Today I have a very special guest, my aunt, Trina Adams. Aunt Trina. I feel weird saying
You can call me Trina.
Trina.
Yeah.
Can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am Dawn's aunt, and she's an awesome person. But I'm Trina. I live in Baltimore, Maryland, actually. The mother of two, the grandmother of two. By profession, I am in marketing and business development. I'm just living life and enjoying it, and I hope that I can share something that is of interest and that will maybe spark something in someone today, because that's what I enjoy doing the most. And I'm just really thankful, Dawn, for allowing me to be part of this platform. I'm so proud of you, first of all. And I've watched some of the other episodes, and I'm like, wow, what am I going to say? Because you've had some dynamic guests. So I hope I can bring just as much wisdom and some fruitful dialogue today as well.
Well, you certainly can. You've basically been in my life all that I can remember most of my life. But I've always, and I said this in my letter to you, I've always admired your poise and your elegance and your ability to keep everything together, even while having a demanding professional life, as well as raising two kids, and being a family woman. I don't know how you did it. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. But
I didn't know I did that actually, but I thank you for seeing me in that light. You often don't know how other people see you as you go around. You were in my wedding. You were 5 years old, and if I go back to those times, I came into your life in quite a whirlwind. I met your uncle, and within 10 months, we were engaged, married. I moved to New York from Baltimore, and I got pregnant. So I guess when you met me, I certainly didn't feel like I had it all together. My life had turned tipsy-turvy and upside down.
Definitely. You don't know, like, especially when you're a child growing up, just everything is just normal. Everything just kind of happens to you. And you're like, okay, this is normal. This is this is the way it is. I never even heard your story about how you met my uncle and how you became a part of the family. Like, to me, you were just always on Trina. If you ask me, you were always there. And but I truly enjoy speaking with you and getting all of your knowledge, and you're just always so wise. You speak and you say, oh, I don't feel like that's what I'm doing, but you offer so much knowledge. And you do have a platform yourself, your free tree, correct? Where you
Yes, 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 yes.
and you
I
you do your own inspirational speaking.
Well, that has just been something that was given to me actually. I never thought that I would go into I call it my marketplace ministry. It's not anything that I ever envisioned, but again, my life has always kind of followed that path anyway. I guess if you talk about mothers you'd like to friend, I guess I can quote my name myself the mother of reinvention, because that's what I've done throughout my life. I've been a mother of reinvention. And after my kids were gone and I found myself being an empty nester, I was really searching for who am I? I'd had a very successful career, but my career never defined me. It's what I did. And, I'm grateful for it because it certainly allowed me to have, it certainly helped me meet all my needs and many of my wants. But it was never what drove me. I always had this vision of being someone who could help someone, to inspire someone. And one day I was in church, and our pastor had us remember Psalm 1. And I was actually learning it along with my kids. And Psalm 1:3 really just kind of resonated in my spirit. And it said, "And she shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, and she shall produce her fruit in her season, and her leaf shall not wither, and whatever she does shall prosper." And when I read that verse, it just resonated in my spirit, and the name Free Tree was given to me. And so when people hear verse 1:3, and they'll be like, "That's your verse, isn't it, Trina? That's Free Tree." And a lot of people never remembered Free Tree. They were like, what is it? Tree. But Free Tree became something that I searched for a long time. I'm like, what is Free Tree? One time I thought I was going to open up a spa and I was going to name it Free Tree. One time I dreamt about maybe I'll open up a restaurant and a lounge where people can just come and dialogue. I often thought about the Harlem Renaissance and how people would gather together and share information. And I envisioned Free Tree being something like that. But the plan was for Free Tree to become a ministry. So it's a ministry for women. And one of the things that I hope to do, and what I am doing through there, is helping people to understand what it is. What is that vision that they have for their life? What does that look like? What does that feel like? How will that affect their life? What is that going to do for them and those that are in their lives? So that's Free Tree. That's one of the
Wow.
things I do.
Yes, that is one of the things. But it's so inspiring. Actually, when you were saying talking about how you came up with the name, or that it was something that was always there, it actually kind of sounds like Trina, like Trina. I don't
Well,
know.
my mama used to call me Tree.
Yeah.
And I can hear her voice now in my head going, "Tree, Tree." So when I maybe that was the impetus for it really resonating with me. But when I read that verse, it kind of described who I am, because I was searching for that place. Where's that place where I can thrive? And so I saw myself as that tree being planted someplace. And then it really became more personal to me as you go through different things in life, and and you grow and you learn from that. And that's from that verse. And your leaf shall not wither, you just withstand it. And you produce your fruit in your season. And I didn't come into Free Tree until I was in my 50s. So that's when I'm discovered, like, this is who I am. And so this is what I do, and this is what I can give to the world. And as I give, I have been blessed, and I've been able to be, prosperous, and not quote unquote successful, but live a good life, you know.
Yeah,
That's
but I mean, that is so inspiring, because when you think about, how trees go through the seasons, they lose their leaves in the winter, but they withstand all types of elements, and
mm,
they still stand strong. And that does, to me, knowing you personally, that really does encapsulate who you are as a person, and it really does show in what you do. And what do they say? A tree is known by their fruit,
by their
right?
fruit.
And you are
Yeah.
producing. And I'm not a herbologist or whatever you call it, but I know that at different points in when plants grow, sometimes what they produce is a little bit different, and as they mature, their fruit gets a little better, or so
Right.
I think that what you're saying is your journey is based in that scripture, and it really reflects that scripture, that maybe early on in your life you maybe didn't have a full focus of where you wanted to be, but as you have grown and matured and have gone through different experiences, you've been able to develop and become a better
Exactly.
person, and develop your ministry and see where God is truly placing you. And sometimes, and you know what else I was thinking, because like with my show, when I
Hmm.
first thought of MILF podcast, it wasn't a podcast. It was like a little show about being a mom, and oh, being a mom is fun and nice or whatever. But sometimes being a mom isn't always fun and nice.
No.
And 2 years later, I revisited my idea about this show, and it developed into this podcast where I'm reaching out to women, and trying to, get the fulfillment that I need by talking to you guys. And I know that that will help others. What I'm saying is that over time, things develop. And it's okay if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing right now, because through time and experiences and through those seasons, you learn and you become seasoned, and then you can develop. It's okay to
Exactly.
develop later in life. Sometimes you're not meant to find what your true calling is, because maybe the technology is not there. you know Maybe there are some things that have to happen to you before you can go out and
Produce
do
that
that.
fruit.
Mm-hmm.
That is so wise. That is, so on point, because we all have something to give, you know. And in my career, but I think that as we go through different seasons, the fruit doesn't change. We just serve it up differently. You understand what I'm saying? So I have always been someone that uh, I'm a visionary. I love to take a concept and bring it into fruition. That's probably why I ended up in a career of marketing. Yeah, people would come to me with an idea, and this is what I want to do, and I'd love it, and I'd work with my team, and we'd come up with all kinds of creative ways to deliver a message or present it, and that's what I did in my career, and I loved it, and I used to call it birthing my babies, because somebody would come to me with like, oh, Trina, we want to open up. I was in healthcare marketing for most of my career, and it would be, oh, we're going to open up a new cancer center, and it just starts out with a business plan, and then it's the architectural plans, and then these are the services we're going to have. And I watched it grow, and this is how we can present it, and this is how we can serve it up to the community so they'll choose us. And so all of that is what I love to do. I love to bring things to fruition from a I as one thing I always say to people, your fruit isn't always just your talent. It's sometimes just that God-given gift that we've been given to imagine. And so everything bursts first with a thought. Everything begins with a thought, and then it stays up in your head. And then one day you speak it. And when you speak something out, it gives it life. The world was spoken to existence. So once you speak it out, it becomes real. And then you talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. Sometimes that's where it all stays. But then you plant it in your heart. I'm going to do this. And maybe that's what you did with this podcast. Yeah, it was an idea in your head. You massaged it. You maybe tried a few things. You spoke about it. Oh, I want to do this. And then now here it is in fruition. And your passion, I can see your passion for it. It's in your heart, and you are serving people your fruit right now. What is it called? MILF? Is that how we say it?
MILF,
MILF.
mothers you like
Okay,
a friend.
MILF.
Mothers you like
You're
a friend.
serving people, and people are feeding off of this.
Yeah.
And so this is your fruit, and this is your season for this. Now, who knows? You may take it to the stage one day. You could be on TV. instead of a podcast, who knows where it's going to go? So it's your those gifts and talents that you've been given, they can evolve. Like you said, it may you may serve up the fruit one way this season in life, and the next season you do it in another way. So yeah.
Amen. Amen. Yeah.
Mhm,
In
mhm,
my last episode, we talked about mothers kind of being a seed, you know.
mhm,
So
mhm,
we were discussing how, how mothers are the first ministers for their children. So
mhm.
God plants us as women as seeds to
Right.
blossom and grow and to produce that fruit. So I really accept that. I think that you are, I mean, you know what you're talking about because you've been here,
Yeah.
you've experienced it. So you know what it is to have ideas and to see them into fruition. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate you speaking
Yeah.
life
Well,
into.
the Bible says, "Be fruitful and multiply." You know, and certainly that's from the gifts of our womb. You know, our beautiful children. And as women, we're created to be fruitful. So we're always ready to serve and to give of ourselves. You know, because that's who we are. I think innately as women. And one of the reasons why I started Free Tree is that some people want to hold on to that fruit. They don't trust that that fruit is worthy to be served. You know, they don't know how that fruit should be served. And so I see things sometimes in people, and it's not me. You know, I'm not a magician, but I think that one of the things that I've been blessed to be able to do is to work with women and to take that thought, you know, to get them to speak it out loud and to bring it to life, you know, like I want to start this podcast. Well, what does that feel like, Dawn? What does that look like? What do you need to make that happen? And before you know it, you start speaking it and it becomes real. And you know, so what do you need to do in order to make it happen? And so that is one of the things that we do through Free Tree, and I call it. We start out with a vision plan, and you have to have a vision, and then you have to have a plan. You know, and I'm a planner. I'm very methodical. Okay, you know, so if we're going to do stuff, I'm one of those people that if we go on vacation, I'm the one that's got to make the plan. You know, and so I help people plan out their visions, and then with my whole marketing and business development part, then I help with the execution to bring it to fruition. So again, I did it for healthcare. I helped with the different services in healthcare and so forth. And now with Free Tree and my consulting business, I'm helping people with their dreams and their visions and and bringing them into fruition.
That is so beautiful and amazing, and I love it. What do they say? A people without a vision perish. So
There you
you
go.
have to have that vision. You
Mhm,
have to have
mhm,
that vision, but you also have to have that faith and that foresight to see it through.
mhm.
Because
That
God
belief.
plants within us. He
Mhm.
plants that ministry, that seed of ministry within us, and
That's
He
right.
trusts us to see it through. We have to trust that God's want for us is perfect and all
Mhm.
knowing, right? So that
Right.
is beautiful. So
You know, sometimes I tell some of the ladies I work with, it's you know, I'm working with them because they have a business, a vision for a business. But I'm like, you're serving. This is like business tree. You know, it's business and ministry. I call it business tree because especially if you're serving someone, you know, you're bringing something, and especially out in the marketplace, ministry doesn't always have to happen within four walls. You know, what you're doing is ministry. You're bringing women who are moms who are, you know, doing that thing, and and others are like, wow, look at that, I never saw it that way, and helping them to understand that they can do the same thing. It's so much more. We can do more than one thing.
yes, we can. We juggling. We got a juggling act.
Juggle it all.
Now, speaking of doing more than one thing, you have a new business that you are putting out. Can you tell me a little bit about your new business?
Well, yeah, now I'm doing for myself what I've been doing for other people for a long time. Now, I don't know how I ended up in this industry, but I met some of these dynamic investors who were interested in opening up an adult daycare center. And we have connected and we have just really have a vision to offer a canopy of services to serve people in their senior years. We're dealing with a senior aging population, and I'm probably more at the end of the spectrum than I'd like to admit. But I see the need, and particularly because my generation, so many of my friends have been challenged with taking care of their parents, you know and you wake up one day and mom, who's always been there, mom's already always done everything, all of a sudden mom is a little, something's just not the same. And there becomes a time when seasons of life that there's a role reversal, and the parent becomes the child. And a lot of people are not prepared to provide the level of care that an aging loved one may require. And so as I started to study the industry and see what the options were out there, I became very passionate about it. So we have joined together and we recently launched the Rising Star Home Care Services. And we're actually providing in-home care for seniors. And that's because all studies have shown that the best place to receive care is in your home. So we're starting there. And we were also on track to open up an adult daycare center as well, but COVID kind of have put a little kind of deferred those plans to a later time because they're not allowing people to go into facilities right now. But we are going into the home, providing home care. Mhm.
Yeah, that is so important because I mean, we all know, we've all been there, we've all seen it. I know my mom, she definitely had it, that takes a toll on you where my grandmother lived with her for a time in her, last few years, and
Mhm.
it's hard. It's really hard, especially if you have a full-time job and you have a family that you have to take care of, and of course your parent or your elderly or maybe even disabled loved
Mhm.
one is a part of your family. But we're not trained professionals that can help work in that way. I mean, some people are, but most of us, we don't know what we're doing, and
Mhm.
when we get into our later years, sometimes we do become more childlike.
Mhm.
And but you're also like, 150 pounds, so
Yeah.
so it's
You know, the thing that I understand is that, it's twofold. The reason why I'm so passionate about this is twofold, is because I really think that our elderly people, if we go back to our history, we used to have extended families where everybody lived under the same roof. So it didn't matter. Grandma, Uncle John, whoever, they all stayed in the same roof. We brought them in the home. But as society has changed, we all have our own, residence. We're not close. Some children are living across country and their parents are somewhere else. So there definitely is a need to have the care and the resources available for the elderly. But the most important part of home care and elder care is how we can assist the caregiver, because it is not an easy task to take on the responsibility of someone. You have a full-time job, you have your own, sometimes you have your own family to take care of. As I said earlier, you may not even live in the same location. Who's going to take care of mom and dad? And usually when the need comes, it's not something that was planned. We got to do better, because I want to be able to help caregivers be prepared for what is coming and be in position. So one of the things that we're doing is some education, providing resources as well as support for the caregiver, because it's a challenging role to have, and it's a challenging situation to be in.
You know what you said, sometimes it's not something that is expected or doesn't come at the right time. But
Right.
I think what you're saying is like really, really important for us to just, allow that to marinate in. We need to be thinking about this. This is something that we need to be teaching our children, and this is should be in our minds as
Mhm.
we, you know, leave the home and start our families, that at some point our elderly parents or our loved ones that they may need some physical help. So I know my dad, he was very, very, very adamant about family being close together. Like even when we moved, halfway
Mhm.
across the country, we came back very often to visit, all of you guys. And it was very important, that my dad and my mom impressed on us family first, family first, family first.
Right.
So, that's always, for me, that's something that's always in my mind because like I said, I watched my mom, I watched my grandmother, my uncle, my aunt, everybody, kind of taking care of, maybe a disabled loved one or an elderly or both.
Elder. Hmm.
And it is taxing mentally and physically, emotionally too. But I think if there were some sort of program where we could be taught or prepared, like, well, yeah, prepared for
Prepared.
this.
Prepared to even have the conversation,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because a lot of times you don't even, even with your siblings, other siblings, with mom and dad. And what are your wishes, mom and dad? Where are those important papers? Who is your physician? I mean, a lot of times people don't know those kind of things. And with my adult children, when I raised my kids, I raised them to be self-sufficient. I have no desire to be a burden to them in any kind of way. My hope is that I can live independently, I can stay healthy, and whatever I have done to prepare for my senior days was as far as insurance and those kind of things will take care of me. I don't I'm not of the mindset that somebody's going to take care of me when I get old. But if the need arrives, I want you to be prepared to do it because I don't want it to be a burden to you. And I want you to understand what's expected.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I have. And so that and I've always told them, don't put me in the basement. Don't put me in the basement, and there's and I joke about that, but and I'm going to be really serious about this. You want to leave your family a legacy, an inheritance, and so forth. And I see a lot of you work hard and you buy your home and you go out to something happens, and in order for you to get the care that you need at a certain age, particularly if you go into an assisted living facility, they're going to take everything you have. These conversations should be having these conversations at a certain point where you're going to be like, how are we going to position this in case something happens? And so these are some of the things that we're doing. And as adult children, that's who I'm speaking to now. As adult children, um the time may come, and as parents, know that the time is going to come, and it's something that we can do, and I think it'll be a win-win for everyone. So I'm really excited about this new opportunity because not only is it serving our elders, but it's also, again, helping people envision what the future may be like and helping them plan and prepare for what it may hold.
Mm-hmm. A people without a vision shall perish.
They
Okay. So
shall
you
perish,
have to have that foresight. You have to have that in your mind somewhere, compartmentalize it. Know that at some point there may be a time where your parents, as independent as they may want to be, because you
Mhm.
and my mom are two peas in a pod. Y'all are like the same.
We're ready to travel again. We can't wait for the world to open up again.
Exactly. But you don't know,
You don't know.
knock on wood, but you don't know what the future
Hmm.
holds. And you
Right.
always want to be prepared in some way. That's why, it's important to talk about life insurance and who your care provider is, anything in that
Yeah,
realm
all
of
of the above, all of the above. And if you have siblings, who's going to be responsible for certain
exactly.
things? And I'll say this too, because we are, your target audience are mothers, that a lot of times it falls on the daughter. You know, it falls on the daughter. I'm not saying that sons and men don't take care of their parents, but Many times it falls on the daughter. And the term is the sandwich generation. You're still raising your kids, and you got mom over here or dad over here that needs you, and you got the kids over here, and you're right in the middle, and you're back and forth. And so that is something, as women, just something to think about. Just something to think about,
That's
as you
that's
watch your
that's
mom.
that is so true.
Mhm.
I remember when my dad passed, and that was it was, obviously it was hard on all, my mom and my brother and me. And maybe that was just because of the way that I was raised. Like I just was like, okay, I'm gonna help. But
Right.
if I did feel like whatever, my mom needed help with, it was like, okay, Dawn, well, all right, Dawn's doing this. And it's fine. Of course, I wouldn't have it any other way. But
Sure.
I think just in our society, like you said, it is, and it is a part of, I think, what most women, that's just naturally who we are. We are caregivers. We want to give of ourselves, but we're also kind of, nature versus nurtured. We're kind of nurtured in that way. Like, all right, well, you're all right, go take daddy his dinner, go,
Yes.
go do this, go do that. While, the men, they have other things that they're supposed to do, like go to work and everything. But this is how our society has grouped us and has groomed us to be
Hmm.
caregivers 100%. And I was just going through this weekend, with getting because it was Christmas this past weekend. So, I was doing my show, but I was also cleaning the house, preparing Christmas dinner, you know, putting everything together and making sure that
Hmm.
everything was
Was
right for
was perfect for
everybody.
everybody. Hmm.
But, who does that for mom? And it's like being a mother is such a thankless job. And even though we know that everybody needs you and everybody cares about you, and they probably couldn't make it just quite right without you, there's no there's not always that sense of a thank you. There's not always, and I'm just speaking because this is what I'm going through.
It's real. I mean, you're speaking truth. But let me say something to the young mothers that are out here who may be watching today. Teach your sons, because we as women, we do this to ourselves, and I did it to myself. I'm mom. I have to be super mom. I've got to make sure everything is right for everybody. And no. For one thing, you do not have superpowers. There's no S on your chest, and that sometimes a no is okay. Sometimes to say it's my turn, it's okay to do that, because I tell you, I motherhood was one of my greatest accomplishments. I enjoyed being a mother. I was a hands-on mother. I was involved in my children's life. To hear them tell it, probably too much. And when they left home, I really felt like this emptiness. What am I going to do? And I raised them to be self-sufficient. They went to college and they didn't come back home. And I was like, well, you don't need me anymore. What am I going to do with myself? I mean, seriously, it was. And so at one time I tried to still interject myself and give my sage advice, and oh, do you need this? And I wanted to still kiss the boo-boos. I wanted to still, make life right for them. And then I realized that is no longer my responsibility. At some point in time, as a mother, is we never will always be there. The love is still there, but we sometimes we have to break away and give birth to that fruit that is within us and do what is best for us. And what the other thing I want to say is that those young men, teach them how to take care of you. Not only will it help you, it's going to help that woman they're going to marry one day, because they don't get a pass just because they're male. And I'm not saying that men don't take care. They say mothers raise their daughters but love their sons, and mama, they'll be like, oh, I love my mom, oh, this is my mama and everything. But you know what I'm saying? But we've got to raise them to be just as responsible as we raise our daughters to be. So
Amen.
That's what I'll say on that.
That is no, that is right. And if you have a young son, do it
Hmm.
now. You want to be intentional when you're raising your children. Like you said, you raised your children to be self-sufficient so that they can go out and be productive. That's every mother, every parent's dream is that
Yeah.
their child can go out into the world and be successful, be self-sufficient,
Hmm.
and but you have to trust yourself. You have to trust your parenting abilities, to step back. And it's hard, even
It
my,
is.
my kids aren't that old. But at some point I have to say, you know what? I have to trust my judgment and that I taught them correctly, because
Right.
they're gonna go out into the world. I remember last year, Leilani, who was 10 years old last year, she started taking the bus to school. And
Wow.
it was very scary for me, and I had we put the GPS on the phone, and and every
Won't
morning
be like this, right?
and the bus stop was only down the street. But I would let her, because she would run out the door. She's like, okay,
Oh
it's time to go. So, and not because she was late.
yeah. He was ready,
She
right?
wanted that independence. But
Hmm.
I would go stand out and watch her run down the street after she had left, so she wouldn't know I was looking. But I had to trust my parenting, and trust that I gave her um valuable advice, and she's able to comprehend. So I have to trust that my child was able to digest what
The sage advice and
sage
everything.
advice and morals and values
She's
that.
watched you do, because a lot of it isn't what you told her or taught her, it's what she's seen you do.
And that is so true. That
That
is
is so
so
true,
true.
because I tell you, my kids, neither one of them are like me, you know. Some of them tend to be more like their dad, but
They're
neither one
more
of
like
them.
you than you think.
I don't see it, they're always like, oh mom, but but every once in a while, I remember one time I said, I can't remember exactly what it was, but my son did something, and I said, "Wow, look at you." He said, "Mom, I heard you. You didn't think I was listening to you, but I heard you." So we can only do that. We can only, as mothers, we can give our best, and then let God do the rest, and trust them that that they'll get to exactly where they're supposed to be, in the long run. So that's how it is.
And man, you are just pouring all that
I
wisdom.
don't know. I didn't think our conversation was going to go down this
No,
route, but
but it's
such
so
several different
important.
things.
Thank
Mhm.
you. Yes, that I mean, because it is so important. Like you said, you have, and I think this was the total theme of this particular episode, was having a vision, being
Mhm.
intentional, and taking those steps. And not only in your professional life, but
Mhm.
also as a parent, you want to be intentional. And then also as an adult child, right? You want to be
Right.
intentional with how you are, what you're doing in your life, and how that affects your family, and
Mhm.
how that affects your capability to step in when there is a time of need for a loved one. And
Mhm.
I love that you allow yourself to be a visionary and allow God to use you as a visionary and minister, because it is truly a need for all of us. Even if we don't realize it, we're not thinking about those things. But
Mhm.
that's why God puts these things in us. He plants these seeds so that we can step in and be that hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Did you ever think about.
Cultivate them, let them grow. Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
You don't plant a seed and automatically get a flower. You
Amen.
know, so there's some things that are planted inside of you, and a seed lies dormant for a long time. You know, and matter of fact, in the winter season, a seed actually dies, and then it comes. But so I'm not all into that germination either, but I kind of studied a few things. So there's different stages that we have to go to before we flourish and produce what it is that we're supposed to do. So don't be too hard on yourself. My vision was a long time coming, and I always envisioned myself as being an entrepreneur. I'm at that age right now where I'm supposed to be like, No, why am I starting a business now? I ask myself that some days. Why would I want to start a business at this season of my life? But why not? Why not? That seed of entrepreneurship that has always been there, now it's coming to fruition. And I'm able to help somebody out along the way. Make me a little bit of money so you and your mom and I can go travel. Make a little bit so that I can be taken care of when I get old and can't do what I want to do. So all things work together for the good.
Amen. Amen. And you know what? You mentioned something about success earlier, and
Uh,
it just reminded me, success isn't, you don't just happen on success and then that's it. Your journey will take you through success. It'll take you through ups and downs and all
oh,
around, and you continue. You want your path to have success in it. You
mhm.
don't just stop your journey because you've reached a certain point. You go to the next level and you start again at that level, and then you continue to
And you
grow
continue.
and be successful. I truly appreciate you just sharing with us your
Mhm.
journey, little snippets of your journey, and
Yeah.
your businesses and your ministries that are just so necessary right now, and
Mhm.
probably will always be necessary, because we need to
Yeah.
be we need I didn't even think about that, but sometimes we do need someone to help encourage us when we have something in our heads. We don't know how to get that out. So that is important. Your free tree ministry, to help people, encourage women to trust in those visions and then take the steps to get them out of our heads. And
Mhm.
then of course with your home care service. I mean, listen, that is, we don't
That
talk
is,
about that need, but that need is
it's
very
real.
necessary. It's real. That is real,
Yeah.
real, real.
Really.
So, again, thank you so much for being a part of
Thank you
my
so
show,
much.
Aunt Trina.
Yeah.
Before we leave, I would really love it if you could just give us some advice on how you've carried on in your journey so long, something that really is meaningful to you.
Wow. Okay. I wasn't expecting that, but I guess if to close, I would just say, life is a journey. You said that earlier, and we all should dream those dreams, But sometimes life is about your dream. Sometimes it's by design. It's that plan that you've made. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you follow that plan, and you may or may not end up where you're going to be, but you're going to end up somewhere if you make a plan and you follow it. And sometimes it's just destiny, that you can wake up one day and life as you know it is no longer the way that it was, and that because of that change in life, it's taking you in a totally different place. Trust the process, trust God, and believe in yourself, and you're going to end up just where you're supposed to be. That's how I want.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, everybody. I hope that you I know you got a blessing from this today. Trina Adams, is there a place that we can find you, or we can contact you if we're interested in your?
Well, with regard to home care and so forth, and my contact information is there as well. The website is risingstarhomecare.com. Even if you're not in the Maryland area, we primarily serve the Maryland area. We can help you in making a decision if you're perplexed or like caught off guard as to what you need to do. Again, that's part of what we do, is to help you prepare and also plan for when the need for home care or any type of elderly services arise. So give me a holla. And I just thank you, and
Thank
continue, my
you.
dear niece,
Thank
because I
you.
see great things ahead for you. Greater things.
Oh,
This is great. Greater things ahead for you.
thank you. Thank you, Aunt Trina. And I
You're
love you.
welcome.
You've made it to the end of MYLF Podcast. Thank you so much for all of your support and for subscribing to our channel. Please follow MYLF Podcast on all of our social media. A very special thanks to today's guest, my aunt, a true embodiment of the mother you'd like to friend, Trina Mello Adams. Thank you for being an amazing example of how strength, focus, and a visionary mindset can help carry us through the different seasons of life. Please tune in next week to meet the Queen of the Bees, Nicole Rivera Hartery.